Well, hello everyone. I know there are people just jumping in now, and so let your audio connect. We'll just get started in here very shortly. Welcome everyone to the Van Andel Institute for Education Better Together event, Skills That Matter Most for Student Success. Just really excited to have you here today to talk about this really important topic. Just to give you a little idea of who we are located in the heart of downtown Grand Rapids, Michigan. And what's interesting about the Van Andel Institute is we have a research facility that houses hundreds of researchers, world renowned from all over the world, studying cancer, epigenetics, neurodegenerative disorders like Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, and how different things like metabolism and nutrition play a part in those diseases. As part of the Van Andel Institute, where me and Corey, who you'll be introduced to soon, work is our K-12 education building our programs for educators and families, where we offer field trips, after-school programs, summer camps, PD for teachers. We have a summer conference we host every year, and instructional resources. And so just to give you a little idea of who we are, again, my name is Dawn McCotter. I'm the Curriculum and Instruction Senior Manager here at the Van Andel Institute for Education. I've been here for roughly 10 years. I help support and manage our programs for teachers and students. And before that, I taught high school science. So just really excited to share our journey and what we're doing with these skills in our classrooms. And with me is my colleague and incredible teacher, Corey Kavanaugh.
Hi, everyone. My name is Corey. I am a learning specialist here at Van Andel Institute for Education. So I am directly involved with all of our student programming, as Dawn mentioned, some of those different offerings. And I am really excited to be here to talk about these success skills and how we're using them, and more importantly, how you can bring them back to your teachers and your schools.
Excellent. All right, so before we dive into our content and what we're going to talk about today, I thought we'd kind of prime the chat pump here. This is all about networking and learning from each other. So I'd like to use the chat feature here to really find out where you all are from and what skills do you think are most important to set students up for success in the future. So if you want to go ahead and take a moment and let's get that chat going. Give us a little intro about you, where you're from. You can share your school, you can share your role. And then what are those skills you think are most important for success? Okay, we'll see what comes in here. All right, Kate says collaboration, perseverance. Thanks, Cassie. Okay, like that. Technology, technology is huge right now, as we all know, and how to use that effectively, efficiently, being good stewards of that. Excellent. We got Cynthia, thank you there. Let me take a look here. Okay, we got some from Grand Rapids, Los Angeles. Wow. Okay, well, thank you. Thanks for taking time out of your day to join us. Technology again, absolutely. Real-world skills, yes, certainly. Temple, I second perseverance, right? We all need a little perseverance. We know how important that is for success, for sure. Okay. Excellent. Well, keep those rolling in. Again, we're going to have the chat going the entire time. This is for you. So share any ideas, share your thoughts. We'll be using this throughout our time together. All right, so our time today, we are going to set the stage about these skills. Which skills matter the most, looking at some research and the why behind that. And then we want to share our journey. What have we done in our programs and identified those best practices so we can take what we've done successfully with our students, share that with you for you to then bring back to your schools. And of course, we want to leave with you some giveaways to bring back to your schools. And you stick with us for our time together. There is a chance to enter to win. I will not tell you what that prize is. You'll have to wait, but it's pretty good. So stay tuned for that. So let's get kicked off here in which skills matter the most and why. And so you shared a few of those skills in our chat as well. I just wanted to highlight a few recent research articles that I've came across. So this is one that came out of the Harvard Business Review just this past August. And the new research identified that these soft skills, which as educators, we know that these skills are important, but to actually see this in this business, corporate, industry context is just very affirming. This article talked about how these soft skills matter now more than ever. And so they highlighted skills such as, um, collaboration, critical thinking, communication, problem solving, adaptability, and those social, could be emotional skills and emotional intelligence. And the reasons before that is they support this long-term employability. And I ran across another article, and this quote really stuck with me. It says, "Hard skills will get you in, soft skills will get you far." Meaning, those technical, specific skills might get you hired, but it's those soft skills, these skills that you see on the screen, that are going to move you forward, right, in your career, in life as well. And so we know technology is constantly changing. The career landscape is constantly changing. And so these are those skills that are needed in order to keep up with that. And so that's why bringing these back into the classroom and sharing those with the students and intentionally teaching these, reviewing these, and making them part of the culture is so crucial. Just a little anecdote. On my way into work today, I asked my husband, who is an HR professional for a large automotive supplier here in the area, and I said, "What is the number one skill you look for in your, employees?" And without hesitation, he said problem solving. And so if you look at these again, problem solving was identified here. And I mean, all of these skills that are mentioned on the screen, collaboration, critical thinking, communication, they're all part of being a problem solver. So how can we make sure that our students, outside of math class or science, that see that problem solving is a universal skill as well? Another research that I wanted to highlight was the report out of David Demings. This is a landmark study that was published in 2017, and it looked at U.S. growth patterns in jobs. And it found over that 30 plus years of looking at jobs that the need for social interaction in positions rose to 12%, and low interaction jobs had declined. Now, I would argue or say that probably, if we looked at that data from 2012 until now, that 12% is probably even higher. And positions that combine cognitive ability and those social skills or relationship skills or awareness skills pay the highest. One other piece I wanted to pull out from you, this was from the World Economic Forum, the Future of Jobs report, just this past January. Just this quote really stood out to me. It really says it all. "Although technological skills, AI, data, cybersecurity are rising fast, human-centered capabilities like creative thinking, resilience, agility, curiosity, leadership, and social influence are also among the top skills expected to grow in importance." So AI, right, is here. We're seeing it. We're seeing it in multiple industries. We're seeing it in education. We're using it in different ways to help build, maybe efficiency, productivity, interact with our students, all of that. But that doesn't replace these important skills. It is so important to have those skills in order to use this technology effectively, successfully. And so about 3 years ago, we made the conscious decision within our programs is like, we really want to get to the heart of this skills discussion. We know, as educators, that these skills are important, but we have hundreds of scientists, just up the road from us in our research facility that we really wanted to talk to and find out from them, what are those skills that are so important to be a successful scientist. So we partnered with an external data scientist to help us conduct research. And part of that research was just identifying what are those skills that not only do our scientists say, but we also surveyed scientists, engineers, other STEM professionals outside of our research facility as well. And so we asked them that question: what are the skills most needed to be a successful scientist? If you want to, I'm just curious in the chat. You're welcome to think. What do you think those skills might be? Are they different than maybe what you listed before in that science STEM? I mean, do anyone want to throw something out in the chat? Do some of those resonate that they were mentioned before? The Harvard Review study we talked about. Love to kind of get your thoughts on that. Like, what are you thinking that these scientists, we held interviews, there's over 20 different scientists, and they were pretty in-depth interviews, conversations we had. And we got to that heart of the matter here. And so I will go ahead and share those results here. See if those kind of resonate with what you were thinking. We asked them on a scale of 1 to 7, how much are these skills or qualities valued? And you can see at the top, we have critical thinking, scientific integrity, perseverance, communication, and curiosity. And then those that scored at the bottom, the standardized tests, memorizing, good grades, content knowledge. And so we know as educators that there is a disconnect. We know that there is this constant struggle or dichotomy between what industry, employers, the future of our students say is going to be important compared to what we are accountable for, what we're tested on, those restrictions. So for schools, looking at that value, you can see that, again, there's a disconnect there. Even though we know, teachers know, administrators know that those skills are just as important as, those good grades, that content knowledge, but again, there's that whole idea of time, or how do we do this? Because the state, the legislation does not value those skills in schools as much as it values that content. And so how do we make this happen? How do we make sure we're teaching that whole child so they're getting that content, but they're also learning and valuing those skills? And so we decided to take this a step further and bring this into our programs intentionally so that we could then share that with our teachers and how to do this successfully. And so we took that information and we've identified these 7 success skills. You walk into any of our classrooms, you'll see this poster, maybe multiple iterations of it up in our classroom spaces. And so when the students walk in and parents or our teachers come into our spaces, they see that these are valued just as much as the science content that we teach. Collaboration, communication, creative thinking, critical thinking, curiosity, perseverance, and self-direction. And so I'm going to ask one more question to get in the chat here before I turn things over to Corey. So thinking about those, these 7 skills here, and then other skills you had mentioned, importance. What is one thing you and your teachers are already doing to keep skill development front and center? What are you doing to prioritize these skills in your schools? Curious to find out. So maybe take a few moments and think through that and respond in the chat. Yeah. I've definitely gotten better at wait time here, so I'm no problem as you're trying to figure that out. I'd love to have your thoughts on that and share that. Tying skills to future careers, absolutely. Thank you for sharing. from Brightways Learning. Cassie, PBIS Systems, we focus on keywords that represent the soft skills. Love that. Yes, perfect. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, and just making those skills relevant and not something additional, but it's part of just what you do, right? It's in your culture, it's in your environment, it's just something we do. Professional learning communities, working together with teachers. Thank you, Matt. Appreciate you sharing that. Aaron, looping in the real world problems, the classroom, making authentic, right? And so building those skills in an authentic way. Yeah, and so these are great examples because these are things that we've also done with our students along our journey the last 3 years to really not only promote these skills, but also to find out what works and have evidence and data to back that up. So with that, I'm going to turn things over to Corey to talk about our journey in our programs and talk about some solutions, what worked.
Awesome. Thank you, Don. So I am going to spend just a little bit talking about our flagship program here at Van Andel Institute for Education, the after-school cohort program that we have run since 2006. So this has been a really amazing program. It's based in science and engineering that we have done for almost 20 years now. And the primary goal of the program has always been to help students envision how they can make the world a better place. And the program has been filled with, we always strive to make it engaging, to make it hands-on, and really root it in inquiry-based learning and real-world authenticity. And as a teacher of that program, seeing the students come through, I've seen a lot of students now here for a few years. I can see, or I've been able to identify when they're using self-direction or when they're being curious or when they're collaborating together. But those skills we're always kind of in the background, right? It was always about the content, what we're doing, what the content that we're teaching, the activity focused on that, and not so much those skills. And so, it was really a great program, but again, those skills were kind of in the back seat. And so then with the research that's been done, and then we interviewed all of our scientists and really gained a new understanding of how important those success skills really are, they kind of shifted to the forefront. It didn't really change anything that we were doing as far as content wise with our students, but we really made a conscious effort to focus on those skills and where they were showing up within the program. So that means that, the students kind of making them more aware that they are practicing communication, curiosity, those skills, and really kind of being more intentional about talking about those skills. And, as Dawn said, we have the poster up in our room, in our classroom space. We're always very intentional about those skills now based on our, the research that was done and the attempt to, or the ability to make these more important and more play a central role in the learning. And so, as Don said, in the fall of 23, we really partnered with that external evaluator, and we wanted to make sure that these were the 7 skills, right? So the scientists we talked with, they said, they identified these top 7 skills, but we wanted to make sure that yes, these skills are being used in our program, and how do they improve from the beginning of our program to the end of the program. And so we did that in a few different ways. So we did student self-evaluations. So students would take a very simple kind of survey to how much they agree and disagree with different statements that related to the success skills. They took that at the beginning of the program, and then they took that at the end of the program, and we kind of tracked the improvement of the 7 skills over time. Our parents play a really big role in our programs, and so we wanted to know from our parents, what are you seeing at home when your child comes home from our after school program? How are you seeing these skills play out? So that was a really valuable piece. And then also outside evaluators, we brought teachers in to really look at again, not anything necessarily with the content, but just these success skills. How are they being used? And from a teacher's viewpoint, how are they seeing these skills pop up?
And with that, just to share with you, or ask you, Corey, what was the biggest thing that learning you had as you're going through these last 3 years?
Yeah, so I guess a couple of things popped to mind initially about that is, when we first started, the concern of mine was, if I'm being honest, was, well, this is going to take too much time away from the content,
Mm,
right? We have all of these things that we want to make sure that we're doing with our students. This is just another thing that we have to do on top of it. And, we're going to share some ways today with you that you can take back to your teachers on how to make it not burdensome, to not make it take a bunch of time, but to really integrate it seamlessly into what you are already doing. So it doesn't have to necessarily be something on top of everything else that we're already asking our teachers to do. So that was the one thing. But then once we actually kind of we got going with our, trying to recognize these skills in our students and really calling them out purposefully. I would say the biggest thing is the confidence in our students. So
mm,
we see that our students are more ready to take on these challenges because they are so confident in being able to know what is that communication, that collaboration piece. When do I need to ask for help or work with other people? Or when do I really need to think critically about these different problems that we're facing? So I would say that the confidence piece was really big to really be able to take on these big challenges that eventually we hope that our students are going to face and solve as they go out into the real world. And so, you look here, kind of thinking about what we were doing before we really called out those skills and what we're kind of doing now. It's a shift, but it's not a big shift, and that's kind of what I want to the main takeaway here. We knew that our students before were collaborating. They, working on the different projects and things like that. So they were already collaborating, but we reflect on that. We were on the not just collaboration, but all the success skills. Daily, we're reflecting on, well, how did that collaboration go? Or, how did the critical thinking process really play out for you in this activity? So we're doing daily reflections. We always, as teachers, we don't want to have to just stand up there and talk forever and kind of give all the, directions and answers and everything to our students, right? That now some of the projects that we do need a little bit of guidance. And so we provided that guidance for our students. But now, because we're coaching and we're thinking about teaching perseverance and communication, our students are better prepared to take on those challenges without needing us as teachers to really kind of hold them by the hand through those different stages. And as I said before, those skills were coming out. They were already there, but now it's become a shared language and really a main focal point for us in our programs that the students are truly benefiting from.
yeah, it's awesome. And so just to kind of take this full circle to kind of share with you, Corey had talked about these three different data points we were looking at over the last 3 years, which the last 3 years, that would be that six different after school programs that we've done this in now. And this is just one data set to show you. This was from their self-evaluation. Corey mentioned that they do a pre-test and a post-test on how they strongly agree or strongly disagree regarding these different skills. And so this has all been analyzed, and what we found is that there have been improvements or gains in their understanding, implementation of these skills as they've perceived them, but primarily in communication and collaboration. And I know Corey, I know you've had this experience too. Talking with parents, communication, collaboration was those were ones that really stood out, in those parent focus groups. Which has been great. So again, this is just one data set, and we're continuing to do this. We're continuing to do this work and continuing to improve our process as we're making these skills more intentional for our students, and just to see that growth as well. And I love, Corey, what you said about that confidence, right? Using these skills is helping to build that confidence. And really, I mean, that's what, inquiry, discovery, learning is. But we also realize that this is an after school program. And so we want to make sure that what we share with teachers resonates, it's relevant for traditional classroom setting. And so we want to share with you three main ways to make this work in the classroom, because we know time is that constraint, right? That commodity, that limited resource. So how can you take this work and this work that we've done and make this work in the classroom? And Corey, you want to start us off with this first one here?
Absolutely. Yeah. So the first one, thinking about, again, as Don mentioned, the timing piece. We don't want this, and this doesn't have to be something that takes time away from the content that our teachers are being asked to teach to their students. And so one of the real being very explicit about the instruction and having daily reflection is something that is a real easy thing to do with our students that takes a very short amount of time, but can have a really big effect on them as they learn these different success skills. So, Don already showed you the picture or the poster with all the 7 skills. Having that posted somewhere in their room, making it visual and easy to access for all of our students. A really easy thing to do is at the end of the day, I'll have my students say, "All right, which skill?" Helped you be most successful in this activity that we were doing today. And all they need to do is take a post-it and they just put it right on whichever skill they choose. So that gives you a real individualistic look as far as each student values, but also as a whole, as a class, what are they trending towards? Or maybe what is some weaker things that they're not really, or they're having trouble identifying, right? So that's a really easy thing to do that, again, doesn't take that much time. Additionally, taking more of a holistic approach of all 7 skills, having them rank all 7 skills after you're done with an activity. So thinking about, we know that they use all 7 of them, but how would they rank which one did they use the most, all the way down to which one did they use the least, still knowing that they're all important. Again, something that takes a short amount of time. And then finally, anchor charts, right? So depending on the age of the students that are being taught, you know, perseverance is kind of a big word. Critical thinking is a hard thing for people to actually think what is actual critical thinking. So building the meaning of these different skills with our students, again, doesn't have to take a long time, but it can be super powerful. So thinking about or talking with your students about what does it look like? What does it feel like or sound like? And maybe after you construct those meanings, you post those anchor charts around the room. So then students have the ability to look at those to, oh yeah, I remember now. That is what critical thinking actually is, or what it looks like. Those are, again, these are all simple ways to be able to kind of teach the skills, but in a non-intrusive way to take away from content.
I love that. And it made me think too about, the different opportunities or times to be able to do this. So, if you have a, warm up or, sometimes we call them bell ringers or, that thing that they do when they first come in, and maybe it's something to do with these skills, doing this sorting or, what skill do you think we're going to use today and have, some time to do that or an exit ticket, that could be skill reflection time. So really, just putting that into some of your reflection time, adding those skills as part of that. So, yeah, love that. The second big idea is to think about those transition times in the classroom. Whether you're an elementary, secondary building, thinking about, maybe you've got 10 to 15 minutes between some activities, and that's not enough time to really maybe dive in to another activity, but you could transition that into some skill building time. And so I just wanted to share with you a couple of things that we've done that we've found success on. And, it can be related to the content. It could be just, for that skill building. It's really up to the teacher. But this is one that we've used before, and this is very relevant, very timely, coming up on Halloween. But in our ecosystems after school program, when the students first get there, we'll take this, we call it ecosystems. We've got some cryptic creatures there, and we have their different habitat cards posted around the room. And they, when they walk in, this is their kind of their warm up. They go read a little bit of information about this habitat, and then they have to identify which of those creatures lives in that habitat. And that's another card that's posted on the room with the QR code, and they scan it, and it just tells them if that was the correct habitat for them or not, type of thing. So again, it takes very little time to do. You could even do that in just a couple minutes. Hey, see if you can do a couple of these habitat cards. But it just gets them thinking, building that curiosity. They might want to look up one of those creatures, learn a little bit more, creative, critical thinking, and of course, self-direction. Another activity, a skill infused transition activity we've done, and this is I like this is probably one of my favorites, is our like a challenge corner. So you'd have just basic, we call them engineering supplies. It could be just basic classroom craft supplies that you have. There's a table in the classroom that's reserved for this, and you've got different STEM challenge activities. We call these our STEM challenge cards. And a student, if they're done early, or again, you've got 10 or 15 minutes of time before you jump into something else. And this is a great thing to help build those skills. And it takes very little prep time. The students grab a card, they're K-8, and they start solving a problem using those materials. And this is a great activity we do too, just to focus on collaboration, especially at the beginning of the school year where you're learning how to work together. To use one of these activities, one of these STEM challenges to help build those collaboration skills specifically, intentionally, is a great use of that transition time and skill building. And just one more example I wanted to highlight because, Reading Month is something that many schools engage in. And I would argue you don't have to just do this in March, right? This can happen at any time. But, again, if you have the little bit of time in between activities or at the end of the day, and you want to just focus more on these skills intentionally, have them break out this Reading Month calendar, and they can pick one of those activities to work on those skills that you see highlighted there. So these are things that we've done that worked in our classrooms, and something that we know that would also work in the K-8 or K-12 classrooms as well. All right, and Corey, what's our third big idea here?
Yeah, so this one, I really love this idea. We talked a lot about making sure that the skills are visible somewhere in your classroom, but not just to have them on the wall, just to have them on the wall, right? We want to make sure that we're being intentional about using the skills or calling out the skills with our students. So this is a picture right from our classroom. This is literally right as you walk into the classroom. This whiteboard is right there. It is there for everybody to see. And we have all 7 skills listed here. But the thing that I like about this is giving the power to the students to identify where they are seeing these skills pop up in everyday instruction. So they are able to write when they see one of their fellow students or themselves using one of those skills. They're able to write that on a little post-it, or we have little houses or foxes to kind of represent the different programs that we have. But it could be as simple as a post-it note, and then they can post that right onto the wall there. Now, this kind of is a double. It kind of works in 2 different ways, because one way is we're asking our students, what skills are you seeing, but how was it being used? So it helps to cultivate that understanding of the different skills as they are, going throughout their work. But it also builds a sense of community within the classroom. To have this is constructed by everybody. And to really see where the maybe even the strengths of the classroom are, and maybe where are some things that we could improve on too, right? So again, it's another way for you as a teacher to kind of get a handle for these skills in your classroom. But I really like the how piece that goes with this, that really challenges our students to not just say, okay, it's collaboration, but how is it collaboration? What exactly were you seeing? And providing those examples for each skill.
I love that too. And it looks like, you can see that perseverance is something that seems like maybe a focus or things that the students have really talked about. So you can really, as a teacher, you can see these are the things that the students are identifying with, and maybe some of the other ones you don't see as many examples of. Maybe we need to kind of look at those and, address those or talk about those maybe a little bit more directly as well. So, no, I love that. And Corey, I know this is in our classroom. What are your thoughts about, putting something like this in the hallway of a school, or trying to, maybe putting this a little bit, broader scale
Yeah,
too?
absolutely. I mean, again, this is not specific to content, right? We want our students to be displaying or to be using all of these skills. So yeah, having it in even more of a visible place is certainly a good idea to do at your schools for sure.
Oh, great. Excellent. Love that example there. Okay, so we shared 3 big ideas here. So explicit skill instruction, daily reflection, those skill infused transition, kind of using your time to do some of those skill building when you are in between activities, or making those skills visible, right? That visible, that presence in the classroom. So thinking about your classrooms, your spaces, the teachers you work with, how might you include these ideas into your school district or building? Love to get your thoughts on at. So we'll get that chat going again, or maybe if you have other ideas, for um, helping with these skills, implementing it into the classroom. Is there one that resonated more than others? Something that you'd want to bring back or share with teachers? Uh, Daily reflection. Thanks, Robin. Yeah, you can turn a lot of this, reflection times are part of daily reflections students do, make them a little bit skill focused. Maybe not every day, but once a week, maybe focusing on a skill. The post-it notes, yeah, they're great. You could use this. We've done this with Padlets. We've done it with post-it notes. There's a lot of different ways to collect that as well. Um, Renee, thank you so much. Being more intentional about teaching these skills and providing ways to reflect on them. Encourage teachers to start with places they already have these skills built in and build on those intentionally.
I love
Absolutely.
that.
I do too. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so easy. And I know myself too. It's just, I taught high school, just figured, yeah, they all know. They know what it means to collaborate. They all know what it means to do this, but that's not true. They might be doing it, but maybe they're not as successful in that. And they're not aware of that. So we need to make that more aware, right? To make them aware, now acknowledge that, but then also be able to reflect on it. That metacognition, that thinking about thinking is so important in our students' growth as well. Thank you. Thanks, Renee, for sharing that. Um, if you have any other ideas or thoughts about bringing this into your school, district, or building, please, please go ahead and respond in that. I'll continue to leave that open as well. And Corey, if we get one, we can go ahead and stop and you can share that too. So just let
Good.
me know. All right, so we're gonna go to our third or final kind of section is we shared these three big ideas, three big ways to make this more prominent. We've been using this word a lot, intentional, but really is the best way to say it, right? Intentional use of these skills. We want to share with you some just practical resources, and you will be receiving this admin guide hot off the presses in the follow-up email you should be receiving tomorrow. We'll have this admin guide, which summarizes much of this, our time together, but also links to these free resources that we're going to share that then you can go ahead and share right to your teachers. So let's start off with our first resource here. Oh, Corey, yeah, you use these a lot. What are
Yes,
your
definitely.
these anchor charts here?
Yeah, anchor chart. So as Dawn mentioned, this is something that you could download or you have your teachers download and use in their classroom, beginning tomorrow. The anchor charts are, so you've seen already the skills, the success skills poster. So we have that where we have all 7 skills on one poster, but we also have one poster for each individual skill. So on that, or on those posters, there's the definition of the skill, as well as a kind of an example of how that might be, or how a student might see that in the classroom. So these are real good. Once again, you're probably seeing a theme here, making these visible within the classroom. Whether it's the one that has all the skills, or if you have the individual skill posters, putting them around your classroom. But again, making sure that we're referring to them, making sure that as teachers that we're using them. So a real easy, quick way that I love to do that is with the individual skill posters, with those posted around the room. Before I get into a unit that I'm going to spend a decent amount of time on with my students, I'll ask them, all right, which skill would you like to focus on for this upcoming unit? And so having them think about that and reflect on that, and then again, going back to those post-it notes, they're writing their name on their post-it and they go stick it onto one of those posters. Then as we're going throughout the unit, just doing check-ins, periodically. All right, so you mentioned collaboration. How's that going? What's working well? What isn't working well, right? So it's just another way for our students to think about these skills and to really visualize how they're being used when we are doing our different content areas.
Uh, Yeah, I love that. Yeah, these posters are a great tool, and you have access to all of these, in the admin guide that you'll be receiving after this webinar. So, yeah, thanks for sharing that. And it's one thing to just have them and post them. It's a whole nother thing, right, to use them and make them part of the culture there. So thanks for sharing those examples, Corey. Appreciate that. I wanted to share one. I love this one. This is it's part of our timely topics. We have multiple timely topics based upon calendar events. I had showed you a little bit of the reading month, the ecosystems, which is part of our, what we call Spooktacular STEAM. But this one is part of our Thanksgiving timely topic kind of series, and the STEM parade is a lesson out of there. And so you can share this with your teachers. A great way to infuse these skills in a way. You think about, Thanksgiving, maybe you have the Wednesday before off, or maybe, you have students, or that Tuesday, where you're kind of winding down, getting ready for the holiday. And we know how classes are right before breaks, and finding, relevant, finding, academically engaging activities can be a challenge sometimes during those times. And so we have this lesson in particular. You share this with your teachers, K2, 3, 5, 6, 8. It's been grade banded. This is the 6-8 version. And we call this STEM parade. So there is an activity, science, tech, engineering, math there that the students will engage in to help build those skills. And so you can see there, I had a 7th grade teacher share this with me. She had her students go through this lesson, and they did a STEM parade for their school, and they put it out in the yard, or the lawn of their school. And yeah, it's just a really great way to build those skills during those transition, or those times where you want something to keep moving the students forward, but maybe it's not a right time to jump into brand new content or something major. So a great activity to help build those skills, and you have access to this as well. And the next one, oh, hey, beat the butt. Corey, I know that you've done this before. Tell us a little bit about this game here.
Yeah, I love this one. So this is another activity that your teachers can do or can play with their students. It's really the nice thing I like about it. It takes only about 15 or so minutes to play, so it's a very quick activity. But again, it can have that profound effect with our students. So Beat the Bot is all about our students and AI. So whether you use AI in your classroom or your teachers use AI in their classroom in some sort of fashion, or you haven't really approached that topic yet, your students are definitely aware of AI. And so essentially what this is also grade banded. So we have K2, 3, 5, and 6, 8. This is a resource where it covers multiple content areas. So your teachers can select the content that they're teaching, and then it'll provide you with certain prompts that fall under that content umbrella. So here you have an example. This is for grades K2. This is a math prompt. And there are a bunch of different prompts that they can, again, choose. And then what will happen is the AI bot will give an answer to that prompt. And then the teacher or the students are tasked with creating a better answer to that prompt. And so the one thing I like about this is if you do use AI in your classroom, or your teachers use it in their classroom, they can ask their AI program the different prompts, and then they can kind of organically go through the trying to beat the bot through that way. But also, you don't need any technology. We provide all the AI answers for these prompts, and so it can go either way, whatever works for your teachers and their their students in their school. But it's really a cool way to think critically. And when I've played this with students, they are so excited to try to beat the bot. They want to prove that humans are better, that humans are smarter. And so it's really a fun activity to kind of make sure that our students are displaying or using these skills in a fun fashion.
Absolutely. So building that, critical thinking, right? For
Yes.
sure. That's a skill that just kind of, pops out to me. But obviously, there's other skills involved in there too, but that for sure. So, yeah, excellent. Love Beat the Bot. Um, so I'll have to say that this is probably my favorite, and I have a lot of favorites, but um, this is also one of our teachers' favorite resources and strategy, the strategy vault, that we offer. When we do professional learning with teachers, this is something that we know that it resonates because these are quick hitting strategies covering a myriad of different kind of topics like these skills and so forth that can be implemented at any grade level at any time. So I just want to give you an example. So you'll have access to these 4 examples that you can share with your teachers. And so these are the 4 here. So it gives a little bit of a description. If I hit read the strategy here, this is shallow and deep. This is just turning your Venn diagram on its head. It's just making this a more of a even higher critical thinking activity as well. And so in here, you can see it kind of explains what this strategy is, and it gives a resource to put this into your classroom. And then there's also a video that shows it in action. So, and we know how much it and how beneficial it is to see this in action in the classroom as well. So you have access to these 4 vault strategies, our teacher strategy vault samples to share with your teachers. But we have, we're good. We have a couple of minutes. I wanted to just share with you kind of our whole suite. This is our teacher strategy vault. That's a part of our Educators Studio membership site. And we have over 300 strategies in here. And what I wanted to highlight is that you can filter out by different topic areas, and you notice that all of our skills are there. So I had self-direction highlighted here, and so you can see here are all these different strategies that include kind of focus on self-direction. And let's see here, which was I wanted to highlight this one because it's a fun name. Is this crap? And maybe you've heard of this. This is an informational literacy strategy, and I think it's so relevant for our time and technology and being with AI and just being that informed skeptic and understanding is this something that is reliable information that I should use in my research or in my presentation? And so this is a great structure, strategy, and resource to share with teachers to help their students understand how to be informed and a little bit, skeptical, and use this tool to do that. So this is just one of our resources within our Educators Studio. It's part of that strategy vault.
Don, if I can mention, I really do love that filter ability that you can filter by the skills because we've been talking a lot about like how these skills show up in our classroom. And one thing that I like to do, if I'm seeing that one of our, like, let's just say critical thinking is really something that my students are struggling with, I love to going to the vault and just filtering by critical thinking. And I have a whole slew of strategies that I can use that don't take a lot of time to implement that really can help to boost that critical thinking. So I love that ability to be able to do that.
Right. And it's nice because they're not content related. It can be used anywhere at any time. So yeah, thank you sharing that. And so it's one thing to, provide the teachers with these resources, but it's a whole nother thing to also provide them with support. And that's where we can help. We work with teachers all over the country on helping create classrooms where these skills live and they thrive, but in different veins too. If you're focusing on differentiation or focusing on engagement, we always make sure that those skills are front and center. And so we infuse that into everything that we do as well, working with teachers to support teachers. And so we do that because in these kind of 3 main ways. Our professional learning for teachers is translational. That meaning that what we're doing with students in the classroom, we share that, we bring that to teachers. right? We are practicing with students every single day. But we also want to make sure that we're relevant. We customize that learning for teachers. We know that one size does not fit all. And so we want to make sure if we're doing a training on outdoor education best practices, we're outdoors, right? We're immersing, we're modeling, and again, infusing those skills. And then finally, we have fun while we're doing that. We want everyone to be engaged, having a good time, and learning along the way. And so we're coming to the end here. So I wanted to share with you that opportunity to win. You have an opportunity to win a free lunch and learn for your teachers. So basically, you get a 45-minute PD on one of those topics there. And again, we do infuse those skills within those topics by quickly filling out the form. And I believe that was put in the chat, that link there too, if you don't have a QR. Yep, Heather, thank you so much. Go ahead and snap that QR code or grab that link out of the chat and sign up to win a free lunch and learn. And as a thank you for being here live, if you're listening to or watching the recording, you can save 20% on all of our resources and other programs we offer, field trips, our professional development, science on the ground. That teacher strategy vault is part of that educator studio that is also in there as well. So you use thank you code, going to our website, you'll see that all there. And feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions at all. And with that, I think we're all set. Just want to thank you all for your time today. Corey, I don't know about you, but I had a great time. So thanks
An
for
awesome time.
thanks so much, and hope to see you at our next event.
Thank you, everyone.